ahead and dive in and get started for the morning. Thank you all for your time. And I know this is probably a little bit different. I'm speaking first and Casey is not. That's because we have officially transitioned. I am now the primary point of contact as far as the CSM is concerned for Louisiana DOTD and the subcontractors that also are using HeadLight as well. So I'll make sure that you all have my contact information in case you ever need anything. Feel free to email, call, text. I'm here to support you. I know several of you have probably seen me in and out of meetings and may have heard about me so far. But for those of you that haven't, my name is Trinisha Marcelin Burks. I am in Louisiana, based in Prairieville, Louisiana, and born and raised here, so very familiar with the area. And I also wanted to take some time, since I have several of you here, to just say thank you for the work that you're doing. It's very important here for our community, for our state. I travel these roads day in and day out, so thank you so much for your dedication and the hard work that you're all putting in to make things better for us here. I appreciate it if no one else says it. All right, perfect, perfect. Okay, now, a couple of things that we're going to jump into. One of the announcements that I wanted to make is that when you are getting the e-construction newsletter from Les, I'm not sure if you have actually noticed, but that trophy down towards the bottom right of the newsletter, that is an amazing opportunity to highlight a documentation pro that's working within your district and doing just an amazing job using HeadLight and all of its features. So we want to ensure that we're acknowledging those individuals and or teams as HeadLight heroes to give them the spotlight. Let's, make sure they shine, give them the kudos that they deserve for the tremendous efforts that they're doing to make sure documentation is aligned with the requirements. So don't forget about that and pass that around to others as well, just so we can make sure that we're highlighting those documentation pros that are doing such a great job out on the sites. And Casey, if you don't mind, would you drop the link in the chat for me to be able to, so the team can have it to nominate those teammates? I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. So next, we're going to jump into a quick demonstration, just a little quick tip that I want to share with all of you. I'm sure many of you have seen this before, but for those of you that have not, I want to ensure that this is a reminder of the potential that we have within the HeadLight app. Just give me one moment while I share. All right, it should be popping up in just a moment. All right, is everyone able to see my Philbook screen? Perfect. Good. All right. So I'm going to just quickly add an image that I already have in my gallery. For those of you that don't know me, you're going to see this pretty often if it comes to a picture, and it's my pup, Rocky. So we're going to use him. We're going to use him for the demo today. And one of the things that I want to highlight is are the annotations and that ability that you have there. And just quickly uploaded a picture that I had in the gallery. I'm going to click Add Annotation. And of course, at the top left, we have the little dot that can either be small, medium, or large in size, where we're able to outline, maybe align with a measurement that you've taken for a tape measure or something like that, maybe just highlighting how long, the width, things of that nature. The main point of annotation, and there's also text that can be added as well, but one of the main things that we want to highlight with annotation is that you're able to bring attention to the reviewer's eyes, something that you want to ensure that they see. So a certain part of an observation that you want to make sure is caught, highlighting that's something the inspector actually needs to see. It's important when it comes to tracking pay estimates as well and being able to refer back to measurements just to ensure that we're not over or underpaying those types of things. You can even leverage it for calling out test results as well. So just make sure that you're using the annotations because it's just that extra detail that could really help, especially when we have to go back and look at other look at the observations to see if there's anything that may have been missed or that we need to refer back to. Any questions there? Perfect. And of course, we can always undo what we've done, totally get rid of it with a little trash can, or just go ahead and accept it with the green check and click save. And now there the picture is uploaded with my annotations added. Casey, would you add anything else there that I may have missed as far as annotations are concerned?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it, Tranisha. And I guess instead of seeing my puppy, now everyone will see Rocky. So you know all the headlight dogs. I
Yeah.
would just one call out there is that any annotations that you make on the photo, so where Tranisha had written test and that text box, that's not searchable. So anything that you do right there, any text, whether it is a measurement or any words like that, you'd also want to notate that, whether it be in a tag or in the image or the description field, so that it does become searchable in the system.
Perfect. Thanks for adding that, Casey. I appreciate it. All right. Now we're going to move over to a couple of updates that I have for the team, and I'll stop sharing just a moment. A couple of updates that I have for the team as far as HeadLight is concerned. Hopefully you have noticed, but the site manager sync times, there was excessive sync times that we were getting reports of issues from syncing to site manager from HeadLight. Those have been addressed. So the sync time now should run approximately every 20 minutes or so. Have we been noticing improvements there, or are we still having any issues that I need to bring to the team's attention?
I
Significant improvement.
okay, great. I'm glad to hear somebody else say that because I was about to say I saw some improvements, but I don't review reports all the time. So, Mary, it's great to hear you say that.
Hi, Ms. Mary, and thank you so much for that feedback. We love to hear it. Definitely wanted to ensure that that was addressed as quickly as possible to make things much more efficient for you and the team. So thank you so much for chiming in. Another quick thing that I wanted to mention, there is an updated version of Fieldbook is, and I'll put this in the chat as well. And I just want to make sure that we all have the updated version to make sure that any updates and or improvements that are being released are going to be uploaded to your iPads as they should. And that's the most current version, the most recent version that you should have.
I would just say that iOS made some updates too recently. So if you haven't updated your iPad, please do so.
Thank you
Yes,
for that.
and I usually like to say also on that one, Kevin and Tranisha, is that when you get ready to do a field book update, update the iOS first. That makes your iPad stable and like it's supposed to be, and then update your field book app. That's usually my go-to.
Okay, perfect.
And one other call out, and I want to, and this goes along with the sync times getting better. And I know you guys are probably tired of hearing us preach this, but this actually gives an example of why it's so important. So I've come to find out that people have been dealing with the long or excessive sync times for quite a while now. And it was fixed like within a week when HeadLight was made aware of it. And so please submit service requests to support@headlight.com whenever you see an issue. It doesn't matter how big or how small that issue is, but getting stuff to them so that they know about it and can get stuff fixed. I mean, I'm not saying that everything is going to be fixed in a week. Some things are more complicated, but obviously one of the developers went in there and saw a little glitch or a bug or something with that sync setup they have and was able to get that corrected. And now everybody's life is better. So and you know, it's true what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so the more squeaks we have, the faster it happens. So
I agree. Thank you for that, Les. And thank you all for letting us know you have to speak up so that we can address it and do something about it. This is a partnership and we're here to support you. So definitely let us know so we can get on it and start working to resolve those issues for you. Now, one other quick thing I want to note about the sync times is that there may be a scenario where you may have a sync conflict. with observations created when modifying locked data. So I'm not sure if any of you have realized that or not, or run across that. But in that case, you would see two versions of your record after the sync is completed. And the latest device modifications that we just released should be in a clone record marked as sync conflict. So if there's some locked data and unlocked data, and then they're trying to sync, you may have some conflict, but it should be marked as sync conflict, so you're actually aware of what's happening and that there's an issue there, if that makes sense. So just let us know if you're blocked for some reason when those things are happening, or if you're experiencing some undue lag time there. One other quick thing that I wanted to mention as far as HeadLight updates, we have had instances where the media file, that orange progress bar, it was still showing up even after the sync was completed, but that has now been resolved. Not sure if anyone has noticed that or not, but if you have, that has been resolved. And if not, if you run across that issue, please let me know so we can get back on that. Okay. All right.
You said that sync conflict is showing up as another observation. Is that right?
Yeah, so the latest device modifications that we made, it would be in a clone record marked as sync conflict. So it would be a duplicate. And it would
Would you,
say sync.
would you happen to have an example that you could show us by any chance?
Good question. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, no, I was just asking, would you happen to have an example to show us?
I actually should have come with an example and I didn't, but I'll get an example from the team and send that over to you via email. And one other thing that I didn't mention at the start of this call, as I learn more about what you all need, what you're looking for, happy to bring in examples, happy to follow via email. I'm still learning and ramping. So whatever you all need that'll make these updates and improvements and things like that simpler to understand, I'm happy to supply that with you during the call and or after. So thank you for asking for that. And I'll make sure you get it.
Sure. Yeah, because one of our projects right now, we're noticing like some back syncing and so forth like that. And we would just, now that you're saying that the update is doing that, that might be our case on our project that we have going on right now.
Okay. Do you recall the name of that project, Kevin?
It's a H.001344.
Okay.
Pranisha, this actually just came up for me the other day, so I do have a screenshot. Do you want me to share my screen?
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Casey.
No problem. So Kevin, can you see my screen? So it'll look like this, Kevin, and it'll give like the title of that observation. So like if you, like where it says sync conflict here, if you can, oops, and then record locked. So like the observation that this is a clone of, the title was just Blue Valley BR114. And so it like just duplicates everything, even the title, all the tags, all the information, and then it'll say sync conflict record locked. So that's what the duplication of the clone will look like.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look and see on our project to see if that's what the case was. Just my Tech 7 was asking me that he's noticed it when he would review some reports, he'd see some duplicates. So that must be what's going on.
And so
sorry to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead, Elijah.
Quick question, Tranisha and Casey. I already know, but they may not know. When the sync conflict observation comes up, will this also prevent the report that it's included in from syncing?
It shouldn't affect the report at all. But I think a lot of times, like especially if it's an image, I think sometimes, Kevin, and I wonder if this is what's happening to you, if like an inspector in the field takes an observation and it doesn't fully sync, like it may still be syncing. I think sometimes like they'll take, may take an observation quick, they take the picture and they just close their iPad while it's still syncing. So in that case, it would, when you come back, it's almost going to try to sync again. And sometimes that's when that duplicate record will be created. So I would say, I would be curious if maybe that's what's happening. I do the same thing. I send a text from my phone, I quickly shut it and I'm done with it. Maybe it didn't send. So I think in those cases, if you can fully wait for it to sync, that also is going to cut down on a lot of these issues.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll find out from my Tech 7 and what is it? I can send it out to the team and let everybody know what was going on.
for sure. I definitely wanted to bring that up. Because like she said, if you're just taking that quick observation and closing out and it's not actually syncing, it can get to a point where it holds up the queue for everything else syncing, right? So observations may not start syncing, and then some users will notice like pending media or pending observations in that top right corner. That's how that happens. So just wanted to let you guys be aware of that.
I just wanted to mention, if you want to check your project to see if you have any, just go in the search bar and type in sync conflict, and it'll pull up everyone that's in there because it's in the title. So it's searchable.
All right, 10-4. Les, Elijah, thank y'all for that info.
Thanks, team. I really appreciate that.
And then sometimes you might get a sync conflict when Les is looking through your project and accidentally touches one of the images instead of opening it the correct way. So
Yep, more times than not, that's gonna be what it is. Just checking in it and it's not actually done, it'll automatically put it to that state. So yep, yes, thank you.
I do my best to not do that, but
And Kevin, one last thing there, kind of along with what Les said, especially now that some people are using the iPhone app. If they take a picture on the iPhone and it's still syncing, but the shell's on the iPad, so it's, and if someone like, say you in your position were looking and you're like, oh, so-and-so in the field didn't add a tag, but you add a tag, but it's still syncing. It's just multiple records. And if the system gets a little confused. So sometimes things like that do play into it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, team. All right. Any other questions so far? Awesome. Okay. Now, next, I wanted to jump into highlights, if that's okay, Les. All right, perfect. I'm going to jump into highlights. Today, we are highlighting, and Kevin, I actually do have examples of this one. Imagine that. So we are highlighting District 7 Project H.002980, and specifically David Boudreau and Nicholas Guidry, and we're going to show you why we are highlighting them today. So if I make this a little larger, it's actually going to mess up my margin. So forgive me if it's a little small, but we're highlighting David Boudreau and Nicholas Guidry for providing details above and beyond what's required in their observations. So thank you so much to David and Nicholas for showcasing the commitment that you have to providing as much detail as possible when documenting these observations on the project. Your efforts are not only meeting, but surpassing expectations, as I'm sure many of you are doing the same thing, but we just wanted to highlight their dedication to displaying and illustrating the power of the technology that you actually have at your fingertips. So again, any one of you and all of you that are actually providing as much detail as possible, likened to these two examples, thank you for taking advantage of the technology that you have use of and for making things that much easier on the back end. Any questions about this example and highlights? Perfect. All right. Now, as far as that is concerned, I wanted to jump into a quick tip, and that'll be it for me for the most part. But the LEDOTD asphalt roadway form, for that, now when you click the location pin button that you may have, now when you click the location pin button on one of the station fields, the form will not just display the GPS row, but it'll also calculate the coordinates for the station that you clicked on. Any questions there?
so I meant to look at that before I left on vacation, but I did not. So so you're saying it will calculate the station number off of the GPS?
So it's going to calculate the actual coordinates
Okay.
of the station that you actually clicked on.
Okay, so when you're talking about, so you type in a station, and I think when you click the geolocation, it gives you the coordinates of that geolocation.
Correct,
Yes.
correct. It's going to populate the geolocation coordinates, correct.
Yeah, we found, so when we were going around doing the construction roundup meetings, we were telling everybody to please, or asking everybody to please start using the geolocation because it really helps the materials lab out after the fact. So after a project's over, maybe 2 years go by, there are no station stakes there anymore, and they need to go do a friction rating test on the aggregates in the asphalt, and they can't really get very close because they don't, all they have is a log mile. And so if you are able to grab a geolocation off of that asphalt roadway, maybe where or location, which is probably the best way to do it, that would be very helpful to them after the projects.
Perfect. Thanks for the additional detail and the context, Les. I appreciate that. All right. Any questions there, team? Any questions unrelated to anything that we've covered so far that we can assist with?
I've got one. I've got a material code issue. I'm actually formulating an email before I hit send. When I have issues like that, who does and does not want to get those emails? Because Les, you're the first one.
I do not want to get those emails. So no, it's okay. I get them either way, David, but let me tell you what the correct process is. So HeadLight just mimics the material codes that we have in Site Manager. So they are not, that is not the system of record for those things. So all that comes from Site Manager. So when you have a materials issue, that's in this case is a Site Manager issue, that needs to go to the Site Manager materials admin email. And I can probably show you that one. Let me.
If you drop it into the chat, I'll copy it and throw it in my contacts.
Yeah.
Because I
So
sent it to everybody but them. Shotgun effect.
let me see if I can find it. I'm on it, but I don't know the email. It's SMM. Sorry, I feel like this 1 week vacation has set me so far behind, I can't even find emails. Does anybody ever get like that when you go on vacation?
Hell, I'll even have to go on vacation to get like that.
Membership, DOTB. Okay, I have it here, but it won't let me select it. So let me find. Okay, I think I got it.
Is that where the material code is not showing up on the for the item number?
Yeah, what I got is in particular, I'm sampling an anchor bolt under 729. It's a sign foundation. And 729 leads you to 807 structural metals, that in turn leads you to 1013. So I should be able to, and that refers you to got to pass. Let's see, what is it? It's tying it to ASTM F1554. And there is nothing under 729 that I can sample from. Now I can go to section 1020, which is traffic signals, and I can find it, but I need it tied to 729.
Can't you do that in the sampling plan, Les?
I'm sorry, I was trying to do the email. What was he asking?
The trying to sample anchor bolt or a sign foundation.
Uh-huh.
Now, if you go to 729, it refers you to 807 structural metals. You go to 807, it refers you to 1013. And and it's got anchor bolts there, all well and good. You cannot, in HeadLight, you cannot pick an anchor bolt under 729. Now I can find it in 1020, which is traffic signals. But I need it to be able to pick from 1013.
Trying to think through this, David. I think that might be because it's not added to the list in the Site Manager, in the Site Manager sample plan. So there's a place you can go add materials there that might make that populate. Kevin, have you ever had to do that?
You should be able to add it to the line item, that material code to the line item in HeadLight, and it should write back to Site Manager.
Mm, No, I don't think that the material codes write back to site manager from HeadLight because HeadLight is reading those. Let me see.
But when I've had issues where they trying to put the material code is not tied to the line item. So if you go into the sampling plan and put the material code, you add the material code to the line item, it will then show, it will actually write back to site manager with that line item where it wasn't showing up before.
Yeah, so that's the line item though, not the material code. The material, he's saying he can't.
The material code's not showing up?
Right, right. There, that material code is not under seven. I can't make it add to 729.
He's trying to put the
I see.
material code under the line item.
Oh, I
Right.
got you. So that, yes, I would, so the way he was saying that was backwards. I think Kevin might be right. So I tell you what, let's share and see if we can
That's,
make everything work.
If he has access to the sampling plan, I don't know if he does or he does
yeah, I
not.
got. Let's see. Do.
So
Now, in your case, Les, would be if site manager doesn't have that particular line item or that in like 702, 802, then he would have to contact the admin to put it in site manager. But if it's in site manager and he's just trying to add a material code
is this
under
3R,
that line
David?
item.
What?
Is it 3R?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So let's,
It's we have it. Let's see. Right now we have it under 729.11.0100 as ankle bolt pedestal, but that's technically not correct.
What's the line item that you're trying to get it under?
It's under correct line item 729.11.0100 overhead cantilever ground mounted. But when I go to add and I can search for anchor bolt, or don't know that we see that.
so which one of these are you trying to do, David? 1020
Yeah.
0090.
729. Yeah. The under 729.11.0100, I need an anchor bolt, but that one I got showing, anchor bolt pedestal, that ain't the right one. Because that material code is 1020, which ties it to traffic signals. This ain't a traffic signal.
Okay, well, okay, I think I see what the problem is now. Just because this has 1020 in front of it does not mean it's tied to the 729. That is because when you were mentioning how it I'm sorry, can y'all see my screen? I didn't ask.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so the 1020 is where it refers you to anchor bolts in the spec book, right? But that is not what ties it to the line item. So the line item is here. Let me select the producer. Oh, I didn't select a project, but I need to start there. Okay. So because the spec book references you around and around to get to what you're looking for, and I have some concerns with that. I don't really like the way we have set that up, but I understand the logic behind it. And especially as inspectors, we do not know these 1,000 items very well, these 1,000 materials very well, but when it refers you to the 806 and it refers you to 1020, the 1020, this is probably the correct material code. I'm just going to assume that, whatever you have, the paperwork you have on it says it's this thing right here. But what actually ties it is the line item. So what you're looking for here is a 720, I'm sorry, is it 729? There's a lot of numbers going around here.
Yeah, and I can put anything under any item in the sampling plan, right?
That's correct.
I can grab that, done that.
Under 729, if you were to go in here and add, let's see
that one overhead, the 11.100. Go to that one right there.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Come on down to 729.11.100.
Is 109, it looks like.
Okay, here.
Line item 109.
Yeah.
Okay,
See,
so
we got,
oh, so it is, so you have a sample type added. So this line item should be showing up. So maybe that's the issue you have here. So this 1020, oh, no, okay, I see. That's the pedestal. You're looking for this other one.
oh, what I'm saying is that right there, instead of 1020, why shouldn't that be 1013? Because that's where 807, 729, 807, and 1013. Nowhere does it slide it into 1020 in the spec book.
I probably have to look at the spec book for that one. Let me
Yeah.
do that. Let me do under this, we're gonna add a material. 1020. Was
So
it
we
this
got and it's,
10?
and
Sorry,
then,
I'm gonna have to go back and look. So,
I think that was it.
yep. So you select this here. Okay. We've added the material, and now we're gonna add a sample type, which would be acceptance on this one, I believe. And I'm just gonna stop there. Y'all can go do your rates and frequencies on this later.
right, and I don't know, like, I'm assuming you're just grabbing an anchor bolt steel. I don't think that's the anchor bolt, but I'm not positive.
Okay, well, I mean, the demonstration at least still
Yeah,
shows.
right, and that's just a demo, right?
So here's the project, and we're gonna choose that material, 1020, 1010. That's right. This might not be the right one you're looking
Yeah,
for.
right. But I get that. That's not a problem. My heartburn was, hey, it's reaching and grabbing it out of 1020 instead of 1013.
It's still not showing here though. Maybe
Did you hit save?
I hit save, but maybe I need to
Oh.
refresh. And then probably cancel this and start a new one.
Yeah, but sometimes if you get out and get back in, then it pops up. Yeah, if you put it in the sampling plan, sometimes you got to get out and create the sample over because when you're in it, it doesn't do it.
Yeah, it's still taking a minute.
You still not doing it?
Let me make sure that I did the right one here.
David, I missed it. What did you say that anchor bolt was for, ma'am?
It is for a sign foundation cantilever.
Yeah, section 1020 is for traffic signals. And
Right. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah. Section 1013 is structural metals.
And there is no anchor bolt in 1013 that I can stick under 729. That I can find. Like if I type in 1013,
But David, what we're saying here is that the anchor bolt, even though it's listed under another number, that it's still the correct material. Like it can be listed under a different number.
yeah, right, and I get that. I just want to make sure that we're good, because if I'm going by the specs, I'm reading that spec book. Like Kevin says, it takes you straight to 1013. It does not take you nowhere to 1020. And that is like that pedestal. It's not truly a pedestal, because the pedestal is kind of unique to traffic signals. So it's, yeah, maybe they run the same test at the lab, but I don't know that. So it should be anchor bolt, maybe anchor bolt cantilever or something. And it may be the same test, but that's the only thing that's giving me the heartburn is, hey, it's anchor bolt pedestal. We're not using it for a pedestal. This is not a pedestal. It's anchor bolt. That's where similarities end. But I don't know what tests they run on the back end. If they was to create one under 1013, would the lab run the same test as they would under 1020?
So the test is determined off the material.
That's correct.
Up to my knowledge. So
Correct.
if you have the correct material selected, no matter what number's in front of it, that's the correct one.
Well, it ties it to the material code, right? They know what test to run based on the material code, right?
Right. But
So-
even though it refers you to 1013, the material code does not have to say 1013.
Okay.
Is that right, Kevin? Am I?
That's right.
So I don't know what was going on there because it would not do the line item. But
Yeah,
I think,
usually it works.
yeah, I've not seen it not work. So not sure what was going on there, but probably something I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was, I understand where your heartburn is there, David, because that was always confusing to me. Is like you would choose some material code that did not match the item, the line item. But what it is we don't put that material, the beginning numbers of those material codes, they don't match every line item that we have. They just, you just select as long as the material code actually matches the material, you're good to go. It doesn't matter what the number is. I hope I'm explaining that correctly.
Yeah, that goes back to us with excuse me, on the teams when we were creating that global sampling plan within Site Manager. They wanted the first 4 digits to follow the spec book number. And
Yes.
then again, getting back to the bolts right there, that was the deal with where on the project engineer office, they created that
Generic
acceptance for fasteners material code. The project engineer would make a material ID for that, send the material to the materials lab, and then the materials lab would create their own sample ID for that particular product and then link the codes.
Yes.
Yeah, link the
Gotcha.
samples, I should say.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
the reason
one
for that is there's
material-
thousands of those bolts and anchor bolts. And so, and you know, we don't test it every day, so we don't know really what they are.
Yeah. Okay.
So is
Good.
it best for David to turn that in as an acceptance fastener material?
Well, I'll share the material code in the chats. Let me find it.
Perfect.
Yeah, because then what'll happen, David, is that, like I said, when you turn it in with all the documentation and so forth like that, the materials lab will create their own sample ID and then link it to your original sample ID.
I'm going to be honest with you. Over the past couple of months, I've heard a lot of this, and I think people have trouble with sample plans because of it. And so I was wanting to put together some kind of training, maybe get the materials lab involved. But I think that is it's probably not a good time for that. I think we should just struggle through it. I mean, you probably won't ever hear me say that, but I really think we should struggle through it because we're about to change all that. So Patrick has got a much better plan for how the material code should work, and I think he has convinced the materials lab that it's better. And so you will choose a material and a use code. Like it will just be a bolt, and what are you using it for? I'm using it for a pedestal. And then we're going to send the sample in that way, and then the materials lab will know what to test. And so that's coming. And I think that cleans up a lot of this confusion that we have with the numbers matching what's in the spec book and not necessarily what's on the line item.
I dropped it in the chat.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, Les, that actually is how the old MAT system used to work. Kevin and I working together in the district lab, all materials, they had that 3 or 4 digit material code plus a 4 digit code for the supplier or the producer. And then you did have a use code for whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah.
You just told me something or something. I never made the connection that you and Kevin used to work together at the lab. Like I knew you worked there, and I know he works there, but I guess I never knew y'all worked together.
Yeah, when we first started.
How many years ago was that? I'm
20
gonna
some
ask
years
you.
ago. 20 some years ago.
Okay, well,
Quiet. I just had an appointment with lasers yesterday.
we don't want to hear that. David,
Hey, I
thanks
got
for
a
bringing
hard
that up.
hat you can wear, Kevin.
Thanks for bringing that up, David, though, because that's definitely stuff we need to discuss on here.
Thank you.
All right, so mine's gonna be quick. Since I was out last week and I've already mentioned that I feel kind of lost, I did not have much, but there was one thing that I wanted to bring up. Let me share.
And while Les is pulling that up, thank you so much, team, for listening. Thank you for your patience, and I look forward to working with each of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm pulling up a live project here because I just felt like it was a better example. So I hope I'm not throwing anybody under the bus with what's going on. So what I have here is a field book tab open, and I also have a portal tab open to the same project. And I want you to notice right away that, and just let me start here. So portal is HeadLight's read-only version of Fieldbook. So this is what we give to project managers here at headquarters. Some of the design folks have access to portal. And then obviously contractors get access to portal. And so what we found a few weeks ago is that when you logged into portal, it was a direct match to what was in Fieldbook. And that was not our intention. And so HeadLight was able to go in and correct it. And so now what you're seeing, you see the latest thing here was from 9 days ago, and it's June 2nd. And over here, the latest thing, which I'll tell you, this project's out in the middle of nowhere, so this image just has not synced up yet. But the latest thing is June 11th. And the reason for that is this little lock symbol here. So this image or this observation is included in a report. And so that's why we can see it. And not just any report, but an approved report. So that's the change that was recently made to Portal. So obviously we want contractors to have access to our documentation. They are entitled to it, but we only want them to be able to see what is in an approved status, right? What is going through our steps and is what's actually going to be the documentation, the final documentation for the project. And so that's why these things went to only approved reports. And so you can see here, the reason we're seeing not the latest thing is these are just obviously not on an approved report. The last report that was approved here looks like it was June 2nd, and then that's what we're seeing here, the June. I'm gonna make sure, I think this is the June 2nd report. Yes, okay, June 2nd, so that matches up. Now, I have been getting, so one thing, not an unintended consequence here is that now I've had a lot of people calling me saying, hey, I can't see everything. I need to be able to see, the latest information that's in Fieldbook because we use that. And even and I'm not necessarily talking about contractors. A couple of them did ask what was going on, but it's mostly our people in-house. And so LADOTD people are not able to see this information, and the project managers really need to. And so I'm saying all this to just reiterate what is kind of been our policy, and that is we are asking people to get these reports into an approved status as soon as possible. Typically, we say within about 3 days. And so I'll tell you, we're trying to break some of our old DOTD habits. And believe me, this used to be me and on my projects when I first started here, and definitely our office. One of the old habits we have is that the reports sit there and then nobody goes in and reviews them. And then you get ready to run an estimate and go, okay, let me go review the reports. And then at the end of the month, you're reviewing 30 reports. And that was, I'm going to say the word okay when you were just using Site Manager, but it really was not okay. That's not policy. Really, these are daily work reports and they should be kept, kept up and reviewed fairly often. Daily is kind of a key word there, but that doesn't always happen because we can't just, I understand we're busy and sometimes you just can't do it daily. But, what we've been saying with HeadLight is within about 3 days, you should get it through the system. And one of the reasons for that is obviously now with Portal, the way it is, the contractors need access. And so we have to get it approved. But also, you don't want to go in and review 30 days worth of reports, because if the inspector create a report on month, let's just say June, day 1, and that report had an error in it. And then they clone that report every day for the whole month. They're cloning that error every day for a month. And when you go in to approve them, you get 30 rejections and you have a mess trying to get out your estimate. And so just want to reiterate this because it's going to be coming up more often now that when contractors are not able to see what they need to see, or project managers are not able to see what they need to see, or even some of the design people who are looking in. Anyway, I guess the whole point to my thing here is that portal has changed, and so we need to be, keeping those reports up to date as best as possible. So, any questions on that? Probably not, but I'm gonna stop that share. Oh, you know what? There is one other thing. Let me go right back to sharing. Since there are no questions, the portal, and we got a couple minutes left. I didn't think about talking about this, but we should. So, and you may have seen it already because I was trying to show David something on materials. HeadLight made a huge change to materials. I'm gonna say huge. It's really not that much different of a workflow, but it's something you all need to know about. It's a much better workflow. So now when you go to create a sample, let's say a concrete or asphalt sample specifically, let this load up. So we're going to choose a project. Let me just choose the test for this. You may notice as this is loading up that we have a different order of operations here, what we're supposed to choose. So you can see mixed specification used to be down here, and we've moved that to the top. So now when you go to create a concrete sample, the first thing you're really, if you know it's going to be an acceptance sample, kind of one of the first things you choose is your mix design. And you can see that already, that automatically drops your material in and really gets your sample set up for success right out the gate, instead of selecting that material first and then a producer and then line item, and then you used to come down to the material, the mix specification, and your mix design wouldn't be there. And if it wasn't there, it was because it was filtering up here, filtering out the mix design, something that was there. And so now by choosing that first and it being up at the top, I feel like it makes it a lot easier to get it correct. Anybody used it yet? I'm wondering if anybody's created a sample for cores or cylinders or anything that have used that.
You can also say that if you don't put an item number, I don't think it lets you save it now. I think that's
Okay,
another thing.
that's right. Yeah, that is another said if you do not select an item number, it will not let you save that sample. So that's kind of forcing you to go into the sample plan and get it correct, but it also keeps those samples from being lost out in the middle of nowhere without a line or without a project selected, or without it tied to a project, I guess I should say. So it seems like it's restricting, but it's not. It's actually trying to protect you from getting samples lost. Thanks for that, Kevin. I'm glad
You're welcome.
talked about that.
I got one thing. So if you're doing asphalt, they had an issue down here. If you're doing asphalts, please let them know that the person in the lab, the asphalt specialist, that the lot is completed, so they can close it and then run the GMM and then run the GMB, because that takes 24 hours for each one, so the contractor can dispute it. If you wait to the last minute and you turn in your 2059 or your ATM now, and that hasn't been done, then they got to go back and close the lots and then go through the dispute. So your 2059 will take longer. So if you can write it, there's no place to check or nothing, but if you write it in the remarks or something, just to let the person at the lab know that that lot has been closed, so they can go through the dispute process. So when your 2059 is being done, that it's not being held up.
Right. Anything else? Anybody got more issues? We got a few minutes, or we're going to get out of here early.
Give me time. I'm sure I can screw up something else.
Hey, look,
I am.
it's not that. It's a learning process for all of us. Even us here at headquarters or in the e-construction section, or it's all new to us. Some of this is new to us as well. So it's good to that's why we created this. We want to hear the field perspective, both LADOTD and consultant side, so that we can get this stuff right.
Just a heads up to everybody, both HeadLight and also you too, Les. I will be submitting a ticket because the project that I told Tranisha about, H.011344, we're having issues. That is a CPM project. And even though Reed is putting his notes in the adverse weather thing and using the mapping tag that was supposed to be using to transfer over to site manager, it's not transferring over.
The adverse weather is not transferring over?
Correct. Yes. I believe it's number 14 in site manager and it's labeled adverse weather and it shows up on the weather and workday report for that. Well, even though Reed is using that mapping tag in HeadLight, it's not going on over to site manager.
Okay. Just one quick question there. Is Reed listed as the primary, and is he putting yes for primary inspector?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because that will stop those observations from going to the weather. I mean, the weather workday report. So it has to be from the primary inspector, and they have to actually type the word yes in there. That's a trigger on the site manager side for that to happen.
Yes. I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure he's doing exactly that.
Okay, good. Yeah, then there might be something on the HeadLight side if it's not transferring the number 14 over to the number 14 in site manager. So, all right, thanks for that. All right, toss it up one more time. Any questions? Going once, going twice. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate y'all jumping on. Thanks, Tanisha, for leading us up today. It's good to see you jump into your role. Like you handled it well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a good week and a good month. See you next
Y'all
time.
too. See y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Later. Bye.